Welcome to another D.I.Y with Raul video. Some of us, and you guys with kids, know that you can't always do DIY projects while you're watching your kids. And since I watch my nephew, this becomes a little bit difficult, but there's a way around it. What you can do and what I've done is kind of created a little huge playhouse for him in the living room, kind of blocked off him getting into the kitchen and getting to other areas. Now we do have some plans to put baby safety features on some of these other items, like a desk, which it's blocked off with the chair currently, but the desk up here needs to be anchored to the wall. Outlets as well need to be covered. He's just learning how to crawl, so he gets around, not, you look away for a second, then he'll be on the other side of the room. So yes, you got to keep an eye on your little ones. So that's in the future, very soon future for us here at the house. Now, in order to start projects, like I said, it's going to be difficult when kids are awake. The best time, and if your kids and my nephew they can be light sleepers, so making a lot of noises is not very helpful. But I know with, I helped raise my little sister, and with my kids, I tried not to keep it too quiet when they were sleeping, so they got used to noise, so they didn't get startled by every little noise that was made, and they could actually sleep through getting things done around the house, So my nephew's kind of in between. I'm talking right now and he's knocked out. He does wake up from his nap. He usually naps for about an hour to 2 hours, usually about the 45-minute to an hour mark. He'll wake up and he'll kind of start crying. If I pat him, he will go back to sleep. He'll lay back down and sleep for another hour. So that potentially gives me about 45 minutes to 2 hours of time to do some type of DIY. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Just fell asleep, so he's pretty knocked out, and we'll see how long he naps for and how much I could get done. So here we go. Okay, now that he's asleep, I could start using a utility knife and scoring the trim, the caulking of the trim, so I could pull it off later. Now usually I use a hammer and a crowbar in order to pull everything off, but my nephew's not that heavy of a sleeper, and that will definitely wake him up. So what I can do right now is start prepping to make a lot of noise when he does wake up from his nap. Now he can play for a little while if he's in a good mood, and that's a perfect opportunity to make some noise. Keep an eye on him, make sure he has something to do, put a movie on for him if he likes his little movies, or just his toys, so he could play in his giant playpen. So let's get started. Now there's different techniques or angles you could use. It's difficult because you don't want to get into the drywall, and you don't want to just be cutting the trim. So you kind of have to play around. Usually almost a 45-degree angle, and you just want to kind of slowly go across, making sure you're getting the caulking, not the wall, not the trim. Use your other fingers as a guide too. Now I'm just kind of rubbing it against the wall, keeping it steady. Moderate pressure. Sometimes you might have to go over it a couple times. Okay, now that I scored everything, my nephew Zaya is still asleep. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna move to the far end of the hallway rather than the dining room, so I could work over here. So that way, if I do make noise, it's not too much noise. And as I get towards him, I will gradually make more noise, and if he wakes up at that point, then he wakes up, but at least I could let him nap a little bit without disturbing him. Now I'm going to use a flat crowbar. They have specialty tools to pull off baseboards and stuff like that. I'm not going to spend the money right now because I don't do this too often, and I'm also going to use a rubber mallet as opposed to a metal hammer to make even more noise, metal on metal. So let's get started. Now it's a good idea to keep your utility knife with you. That way, anything that you forgot to score, you could actually kind of go back and score or cut. Once you get it started, it's a lot easier. So at this point, you could just kind of start pulling away. Keep your utility knife handy, because as you pull, you could actually start cutting to ensure that it'll pull off a lot cleaner. Remember, always retract your blade when you're not using it. Now you can see it's starting to pull the texture. So that's why, as much as you want, you could score all day perfectly. You're always going to end up having to do some type of repair. And done. Okay, something I do want to point out as well is you could tell that you actually got a good score or cut on the caulking two different ways. One, you could actually feel it on the blade. You'll feel like you're kind of cutting into rubber as opposed to cutting into paper. And also when you're pulling it off, you could tell if you're actually pulling off the texture or the paper on the drywall by the sound. You'll hear it sounding kind of like a paper sound. See if you could hear it. So that tells me that I'm probably pulling off paper and texture and whatnot. Now this is a tight corner, I can't really see what's going on, so I'm just gonna have to fix whatever I end up pulling off when I pull this piece off. So let's find out what I'm actually doing. Okay, good. Actually, it did not pull off too much. It's just a little bit right here. That's probably the paper sound I was hearing. For the most part, we're good. Alright, now here's a perfect example. I just barely started continuing. This is what happens. If you could see, I'm actually pulling paint, which is a pretty thick layer of paint. That's why I tell you I wasn't paying attention. Carry your knife. And what we're gonna do, now I'm gonna continue scoring. As you can see, it's wanting to pull, but we're just gonna help it out a little bit. So as you kind of start pulling the trim away from the wall, just keep that in mind. You don't really need to be going full speed. I know, you know, if you have kids, oh, see, look, this is what happens. I'll have to fix that later. Like, I know my nephew's still asleep, which he's actually, yes, he's still asleep. Us with kids or people that are watching kids and they're trying to get things done, yes, you might be in a hurry, but still take your time. Do it right. If you do it right the first time, you won't have to go over it again or fix or patch or do a lot more work. So I'm gonna keep on going. And guess who's up? What's wrong? What's wrong, Zaya? Did Theo Rarude leave you? You want to see a camera, huh? Say hi, everybody. Hi. My name is Zaya. Good morning. Oh, no, good morning? Okay. Well, let's get him into a good mood. I'll be back. Okay, I got him to kind of stop crying. He was kind of being moody when he woke up. Usually it's hit and miss with my nephew. Sometimes he's in a good mood when he wakes up, very happy, very smiley. Today he was kind of cryy. I don't know if that's a word, but he was definitely crying. So changed his diaper, kind of let him sit around and cry with me. Not that I was crying, but let him cry, you know, with me around. And now he's okay. Is that right, Zaya? You okay? See, he doesn't even care right now. So now the good thing is, well, good and bad thing. Good thing is he's in a better mood. Now I could continue on, because I only got about halfway done. He does not, the bad thing is that he does not like when you walk away from him. So long as you're in his line of sight and he could see you, he's okay for the most part. So we could actually continue. Let's continue. Now I'm gonna have to fix all that. Also, again, if you're doing this with kids or a kid, always check up on them. They will get into something when they're not being supervised. Saya, what did you do? Is that why you were so quiet? Huh? Uh-huh. I see you leaving the scene of the crime. I caught you red-handed. Sorry, dude. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Had to take a break. Clean up this mess. If it came off that easy, that would be great. Most of the rest, you're going to have to scrape off. I use a 5-in-1, 6-in-1, 8-in-1, whatever kind. This is the hard part, because it's going to want to do this. And that caulking is going to pull off that texture. Checking on Zaya. Zaya, what are you doing? maybe I'll play with them for a little while. But that's what I'll do in between hanging out with Zaya and then trying to do some repairs or DIYs or home renos when you have kids.